guys, what up? Total Control 871, chiming in with our second part of the Rosenberg possible collusion scandal. I believe I left off talking about how it is my belief that Judge Rosenberger just simply didn't think I myself or the plight of the cyclist are worth the consideration of lane occupancy and how long that is. It has always been the position of the police that a cyclist can move left out into the lane when moving around a large enough tangible object, a disabled vehicle, one of their own police cruisers performing a traffic stop, or anything else of the sort. Also, if there were a large enough road defect, Officer Devlin said that I could go around it. Unfortunately, some of these road defects are quite numerous, and they perforate throughout the course of the section of road that causes the cyclist to utilize this lane control, such as the drainage grates that are, well, they're inundated. They are throughout the spans of Tilton Road. I can only assume that Tilton Road is prone to flooding, and therefore civil engineering calls for that many drainage grates. Also, during the playback of the video, whether it was my video or Sergeant Purr's video or Officer Devlin's video, Sergeant Purr would point out a signage near the intersection of Fire Road and Tilton Road. It is the police department's belief that it is only at that point where the sign, it's a sign that indicates these 3 lanes, I think it is. These 3 lanes, or is it 2 lanes? No, I think it's these 3 lanes are straight and the 4th lane is turning. I don't know, I can't remember if that sign also includes the Parkway jug handle lane, but the point is that the police believe that it is at that point that a lane becomes dedicated for straight, dedicated for turning, and therefore once you are in it at that particular point, maybe also where the lines become solid and are no longer perforated, they are arguing that it is there that the lanes become dedicated. Tell you what, I'm neither going to agree nor disagree with that, but my point, my point was that, and I tried to argue this in court, that after you emerge out of the Parkway overpass, in the video, when we see me come through, we've got 2 lanes, or what's left of 2 lanes. It's a lot of road construction down in there, and sometimes there are painted lanes and sometimes they're not. So to be fair to Officer Devlin, he did say that he gave me some latitude during that portion of the road, but it is Officer Devlin's and Sergeant Purr's belief that once I come out of that Parkway overpass, that I should immediately move next to the curb. Here's the problem in that logic, and of course I was not permitted to ask any of these questions. The lane, the spans of road that is perforated, let's see, I know you're looking at me, I'm trying to give you, so I'm trying to orientate you. If you just play back the video, you'll see that all the way to our far right, that's actually well, it gives way to a type of left-hand turning lane that you can access a diner and a hotel over there. The next two lanes, those are dedicated straight-through lanes. The next lane over, I call it the tourist gas station lane. The only people that are going to be in that lane, because it ends in only a few hundred feet, as we see in the video. The only people that ever get in that lane are people probably coming off of the parkway, coming under the parkway overpass. And they may be tourists new to the area, not necessarily knowing, where things are at. And those are the only people that are going to be in that lane, because everybody else that's familiar with that lane, it might be wide open, but they're going to stay in queue in our two straight lanes because you're going to have to fight to get over anyway. It's kind of why I originally occupied the right through lane there, prior to my dealings with Attorneyman Mark Stein. Attorneyman Mark Stein said that I should be one lane over. I argued that lane only ends in a few hundred feet. He said one lane over. I begrudgingly agreed to it. I held to that agreement. Prosecution agreed to that. But I'm not going to get off into that. So that lane, and it causes you to fight to merge back over. If traffic is heavy enough, it's going to be very, very difficult merging back over. But then again, the police and Judge Rosenberger's own words now, I don't care. Okay? They don't care about the safety of a cyclist, okay? This is the police department now. This is people that are supposed to be protecting and have the best interests of the public. And of course, when it comes to a cyclist, they do not. They literally said they don't care if lane control affords a cyclist a measure of safety. And it's not just simply a measure of safety that I myself or a collection of cyclists have come up with. This measure of safety comes from the state of New Jersey themselves. I attempted a number of times to question Sergeant Purr and Officer Devlin, putting it to them straightforward. Why would the state of New Jersey bring charges against the cyclists for doing what the state of New Jersey tells us to do? Judge Rosenberger immediately, once again in his outburst of anger, Sergeant Purr, can you speak for the state of New Jersey? Said the same thing for Officer Devlin. Can you speak? They can't speak for the state of New Jersey, so you can't ask them that. Here's the thing. What have I got? Shit, no, shit. Come on. I usually have a million of these things laying around. Okay. Let's see if I can get this to you clear as possible. This is what I'm about to show you. This is a court summons. Okay? Come in the mail. Court summons. Garwood Township. And I want to show you something very specific. Does that say Heath Purr versus Charles Dunbar? No. Does that say Kevin Devlin versus Charles Dunbar? No. This says the state of New Jersey versus Charles Dunbar. Okay. When you whip out your ticket book or even charge somebody with a criminal crime, you, law enforcement, At that moment, you are speaking for we the people. You are speaking for the state of whatever state you're in. You cannot charge somebody unless you're going to be speaking for the state. We the people bring charges against whomever for whatever reason. Okay? So if they can't speak for the state of New Jersey, then they got no goddamn business writing the fucking tickets. All right? But of course, I couldn't even argue that. Why? Because it wasn't prosecution that said, can you speak for the state of New Jersey? It was Judge Rosenberger, a.k.a. Defense Counsel for Egg Harbor Township Police. See, I wasn't afforded an impartial, unbiased judge. I was not afforded due process. Okay? I want to go back and back to where we were with our number 4. I'll read it again. I know time ran out on me. I got my counter going here, so I only got about another 10 minutes or so. All right, number 4 of Title 39, 414.2, to occupy any available lane when traveling at the same speed as other traffic. Like I said, the body of traffic moves at various speeds. I pointed out to Officer Devlin in the video, in the Devlin unlawful stop. We see from my rear view camera footage, there is a small champagne gold colored SUV in the left-hand lane, and it begins to lag behind. This is after I've crossed Fire Road, okay? And after I have merged to the left, and I am now occupying the lane because the lanes are still extremely narrow. They're about 10 feet wide, maybe 10 and a half at best. And of course, a good portion of that last foot and a half, it's taken up by these heavy drainage grates. Many are damaged, many are detriment to cyclists. And because there are so many of them, this is kind of where it kind of gets to like a prejudice. Who remembers my video of the intimidated cyclists? See, that's what they're thinking of. That's what they expect. They want you to go, oh, I better get out the road here. I'll just put the bike on the grass and maybe I'll walk it if it's too hard to ride. Or those cars, they scare me. I probably shouldn't be there anyway. I'll just walk it for a while. I'll walk the bicycle for a while. Or perhaps they want you to just simply coast along at a ridiculously slow speed, stopping at the damaged drainage grate next to the curb. So now the cyclist would be pinned down next to the curb. We're waiting for traffic to abate. Okay, traffic has abated. I go around and get back next to the curb and go down to the rinse and repeat, basically, okay? So rinse and repeat that little putt-putt tortoise, okay? Because that's their own continuity of cycling. That's what they themselves probably aren't much better capable of doing. I couldn't help but take notice that Judge Rosenberger, I was watching him as he watched the various different types of footage. I don't want to get too long here. God, I can't believe it's 14 minutes already. Shit. First thing I'll say about Judge Rosenberger's reaction to my video that starts off with the seal of New Jersey. It comes from our New Jersey law, the statutes of the law that question, if you've seen the video, if it's too narrow, no shoulder, how should I proceed? Of course, it gives the state of New Jersey, not me, those aren't my words. The state of New Jersey gives an answer. The state of New Jersey is speaking. Okay, the state of New Jersey has elaborated. So if it is indeed a question, because I agree that I have dynamited prosecution's static mold, therefore blasting it out of the black and white and putting it into the realm of gray, thus needing interpretation. So if His Honor is looking for the correct interpretation, it's not so much that I'm asking you to believe my personal take on the matter, okay? The police are giving their personal take on the matter, but why don't you turn to the state of New Jersey? And that would be the New Jersey Cycling Manual. 52 pages, pages 15 to 21 specifically, are elaborating. Judge Rosenberger claimed that he was going to, deliberate. He took a break, a recess, and he was going to deliberate. I seriously, this recess was very, very short. Mr. Ioferman, the prosecutor, he mysteriously felt the urge to go to the bathroom, which he may have. I just felt the whole thing. Did they go in back of his court and discuss this case amongst themselves? That's what I'm wondering. I have no proof of that. So, but yes, I don't think Judge Rosenberger actually took any of my evidence into any real consideration. As I said before, it is my belief that he had already come to his ruling before the trial even began. So as my video starts, it's kind of, in hindsight now, it's kind of comical when you think about it. Judge Rosenberger, it's literally, I don't want to overact here, or I swear to God, it's literally like Judge Rosenberg somebody was throwing holy water on the man. He's like, as the video starts and the seal of New Jersey is shown up on the big screen along with the statutes that enable me to use lane control, he's like, I don't want to see this. If this is, I don't want to see I don't want to see any of that. And he's like, literally, it's like, because there are different interpretations of the vampire mythos. It's not always that the vampire doesn't have a reflection. It's that they can't stand their reflection, okay? And it's like the man stopped just short of hissing, I don't want to see it. He didn't hiss, I guess I am being a little dramatic there, but literally he was like, turning around, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see any statutes. This man was desperate not to have empirical, law-binding truth put before him. He didn't want it read aloud. He didn't want to look at it put straight in his face. You will never convince me that I was given a fair trial. You will never convince me that this man did not see all of this evidence, deliberate upon this case long before the trial ever started. Like I said, it's not because the case didn't go my way. I have no reason to believe that Judge Switzer colluded with, I believe it was prosecutor Donna Vitale. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name. I don't believe the prosecutor in that case, Miss Vitale, I don't think she did anything wrong. I don't think Judge Switzer ever did anything wrong. It's Judge Rosenberger seemed to have in-depth knowledge as to when certain things were about to play in this video, such as my declaration of suicide. So as Officer Devin pulled me over, he's like, all right, is this where the travel, the cycling ends? All right, then stop the video because I don't need to see anything more. Mr. Dunbar, you don't have a problem with that, do you? Because he knows that because this was Officer Devlin's dash cam video, which I can only assume was unedited. And of course, Officer Devlin's dash cam video played before my video evidence was submitted. This man knew of my declaration of suicide and my suicide intent. And he didn't want to hear any of that. And I agree, which is why in my video I edited that out, because I understand the mental trauma that has been inflicted upon me. You know, that's why my IT department, you know, thanks guys, you're incredible. Thank you for your help. I couldn't have gotten this far without you. But that's why, you know, I edited it out, because I also needed help sticking to the facts of what happened. So it's not that I object to the video being stopped. I'm just simply taking note as to why Judge Rosenberger wanted that video stopped. It definitely would seem to indicate that he had intimate knowledge, pre-trial knowledge of this case, okay? I did not get a fair trial, okay? All right, getting long, 21 minutes. What else do I want to say? Occupying the lane, body of traffic moves at different speeds. We saw it in our small gold SUV as I crossed Fire Road. It begins to fall back. Literally, from that point on I questioned Officer Devlin. Officer Devlin, am I pulling away from traffic? He says, I don't know. I don't think so. Officer Devlin, do I need to replay the video for you? And we back the video up and we let the video play again. And it is, again, empirical fact right there in your face. Okay, so there I am, pulling away from traffic. It was like pulling teeth, people, but I got him to admit it, that I was pulling away from traffic, thus making me the fastest moving vehicle on that lane, in that section of traffic. And I think when I did that, that's what kind of forced Judge Rosenberger's hands to find me not guilty of the obstruction, because I am literally the fastest moving vehicle. Prior to Fire Road, the only vehicle behind me was the cop car, which wanted to be behind me. We had 2 lanes to my left, wide open. You guys have seen the video. Wide open tarmac, okay? So no traffic was impeded. And as far to the right is practical, again, I admit that the mold, it is dynamited, it is fluid, it is open to interpretation. And no, you do not have to necessarily take my interpretation. Just go to the state of New Jersey's own interpretation, New Jersey Cycling Manual. And of course, that is backed up and ratified by Posel v. Essex County. Again, there were portions of Posel v. Essex County that I wanted to read aloud that talk about exactly how Justice Albin says that I am not specially bound to a shoulder. I belong in the road. I don't belong in a shoulder. And of course, I immediately was shut down. I wasn't allowed to read. I wasn't allowed to speak any of this, okay? See, I might be able to stomach this. The way I was, and believe me, that was a jagged fucking pill to swallow when Switzer ruled against me a number of times, you know. But at least Switzer gave me due process. And Judge Switzer, if you're out there, by chance should this video make it across, I know you're retired now. Thank you for your service, sir. Thank you for affording me due process. If you did nothing else, you gave me due process. So thank you very much for that, sir. All right. So yeah, it is fluid. It is open to interpretation. How fast, you know, I think I gave an example, baking a cake, baking a meringue pie. Remember, this is called a speed limit, not a speed setting. Okay. If I want to bake a cake, like in this apartment, there is zero fucking, electricity. It's hot as balls, man. That's why, you know, even though I got my portable batteries here, you know, but I can't plug in a fan. So I could mix cake mix, and were I to set it underneath maybe a beam of light, they got like solar ovens and shit, I might be able to bake a cake that way, but I would never be able to bake a lemon meringue pie, or at least the meringue portion of it. Your hand would have to move at a speed that is simply inhuman. That would be a speed setting. So in every recipe that for a lemon meringue pie, it's going to indicate to you a speed setting on what to set your hand mixer. That's a speed setting versus, a speed limit. Okay, not everybody has to go the speed limit. We saw front end loaders. The road is occupied by a number of slower moving vehicles. Garbage trucks. Hell, some of these vehicles even have signage on the back of them. Frequent stops, slower moving vehicle. You might want to change lanes and go around me. Okay? Bicyclists. We're slower moving vehicles. Change lanes. Go around us. I also pointed out, all right, 25, 26 minutes. I pointed out in court that as I began my cycling back in the late 90s, your Nokias, your Ericssons were out there. Cell phones are just becoming ubiquitous. Pagers were going bye-bye. Two-way pagers were making a last gasp at staying relevant. And, of course, we all know how that went. I took a hiatus from cycling, came back in 2012, where smartphones were the new ubiquitous thing. I used to, like I said, back in the late 90s, I would do lane sharing, side-by-side lane sharing, and it worked then, but it would not work now because smartphones are everywhere. So, all right, guys, I don't think there's going to be a part 3. Time's going to shut off any second now. Yeah, I did it because the road users, just like our Ram 2500, too busy, too distracted, too hazardous. Thus, you created a hazardous condition. Cyclists now must take adaptive measures the way police officers have had to take adaptive measures to ensure the fact that they won't be hit while executing traffic stops. Police officers are allowed those adaptive measures. Why aren't cyclists allowed the adaptive measures that are not our personal interpretation, but again, what the state of New Jersey, what the law says for us to do, a law which Judge Rosenberger forbid to be read aloud in court, and we're supposed to just trust that he was willing to deliberate upon all this evidence, in a handful, in what, 2 minutes? Okay, so obviously that did not happen. I was denied due process, and this is what I'm dealing with now. All right, guys, more videos coming. Total Control 871.